So what'd you do yesterday? What was your workout?
7 rounds for time, 10 cal row, 5 snatches, full squat snatches with 135, and then a 200-meter run. It doesn't sound like a lot.
That's super spicy.
Man, it was really bad.
I bet it got long. I bet that was actually
Yeah,
kind of long.
20-minute time cap.
Yeah. It was close though, right? Like
Yeah,
18.
I was 17:08,
Yeah.
but I was the only one in my gym that finished it. Like everybody was dying, and like it doesn't sound like a lot, but give it a crack. Like it was really.
Yeah.
I was thinking sub 15.
Mhm.
And I was on that pace until the fifth round, and then it was like
Oh, I might do that. I might do that at like 115.
I'm done. Like I was like I'm done. Like it's slow now.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to WODprep podcast. John Young is joining me, and today we're going to chat about, does the 2024 games have an asterisk? And let's define asterisk. Where's like the common or like the whatchamacallit definition? Indicate omission.
Is it
Reference to a
asterisk?
footnote. Is it asterisked?
I was always thought there was like an S.
Asterisk? It's a strisk? Oh, it is SK. Fucking A. Dude, I'm
You want to fix your thumbnail then?
the worst at, yeah. Dude, I'm the worst at spelling. Yeah, it is what it is. It's a SK. That's perfect. I love it. Nice little spelling error. It's for the whole world to see. Yeah, it's Ben fucking, he kills me for that. He's like, don't ever write copy. And I was like, don't worry, I don't. That's why I just talk into a microphone all day. A footnote. So what we mean by this is like, is there an asterisk next to the 2024 games regarding the winners, the placements, due to potential programming biases, the weekend of itself, the emotional well-being of the athletes, et cetera, et cetera. And so the question is, does it? Meaning, is Tia the fittest on earth? Is James the fittest on earth? Are the placings of the athletes appropriate based on the weekend at hand, right? And so me and John generally have a similar, I think we have a similar view on this, is every year is unique, right? Every year is unique. And so I think John is eating. Are you done eating now?
Yes, I'm done. I have a milk, but I'm done.
Every year is unique, and every year presents its own like differences regarding programming or the field or things that happen within the program. Obviously, this year is much different and much more substantial, but every year has its own. And so I think, especially with the concept of unknown and unknowable, like in the definition, I think that no year can truly have an asterisk, and that every year will always be unique in of itself. And so whoever comes out on top and wherever the leaderboard is appropriate for that year, personally. So, yeah, that's kind of that's my gist.
Yeah, I mean, and if you think about it, Greg Glassman said every single year somebody different will win the CrossFit Games, and that's the beauty of it. And then he didn't see Rich Froning coming.
Mm-hmm.
And for the women's side, that was kind of true, right? I know Annie won 2 years in a row, but the women's side has had parity until Tia. And
Right.
then for the men, we've had Rich and then Matt. But
Right.
if we look at the second place guy, every year is different. They're like, there's not the same guy doesn't finish second place.
Right.
And if there is not an individual that is head over heels fitter than everybody else, which we have in the women's side and we don't have in the men's side, then there would be a different winner every single year. Every single year has a bias. I do think some years are worse than others. I think 2015 to 2018 was like, I think those were the best CrossFit Games era. as far as programming. The I'm not gonna say the athletes, but as far as like programming and like well balanced tests, I think those were the best years. 2019, they tried to do everybody, and it was not great,
Right.
especially the first 6 events. And then 2019 is a good year to bring up because the programming for the first 6 events was very similar to this year's first 6 events.
What year did you say?
2019, where they had running 3 of the 6
Mhm.
events before they cut down to 10.
Oh yeah.
And they didn't do any heavy lifting at all. There was no strength event until that time, and then after that it got better. The problem for this year was if you take the first 6 events, make that the entire competition except the last 2.
Hmm.
Um, the
What
if
do you
you
mean
look,
by that? Explain that. I don't understand what you mean.
I think this was the most cardio influenced games ever. I
Okay.
think it's probably the most unbalanced games ever. Even in 2008 and 2007, that programming was trash time domain. They tested one time domain in 2008, but there was a lifting event, there was a running event, and then there were 2 CrossFit events.
Mhm.
And one of the CrossFit events was barbell cycling, right? But as far as a balanced test goes,
Sure.
I think even that year was more balanced than this year. Like if you but I don't think that means it has an asterisk.
Hmm.
Like I at all. I think if this year has an asterisk, then 2019 should have one, and 2020 should have one. 2020, the year we wasn't even supposed to happen,
Right.
and then they did the best that they could, and then we're lucky that we have Matt and Tia because we can say, yeah, they're still the fittest
So
in the world, and
you
they
don't
were.
think the workouts at the ranch were a valid test? You don't think it was a balanced test there, or like stage 1 to stage 2?
No, it's
Like
just
who
you
was
have
there?
5 people.
Oh, okay, got it.
You have an
Okay.
online competition to get to 5 people, and then
Mhm.
those 5 people are the fittest 5 in the world. It's probably not the case, but we
Sure.
had Matt and Tia to bail us out,
Right.
right? Or like
Sure.
CrossFit had Matt and Tia to bail them out. I guarantee if Noah Olson won the 2019 CrossFit Games, people would say the same thing, and I would still say I think about it like this: the people that chose to do the test, to do the full CrossFit Games, like of those people, James Sprague was the best one at the test.
Right.
Everybody signed up. He was the one that was the best one at the 24 CrossFit Games. He is the winner. I think it's possible that you can win the CrossFit Games and not be the fittest guy in the world. I think maybe the claim loses a little luster, but he's still the winner. He was still the best one at this test. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he's earned everything that's going to come his way. Next year, am I going to pick him to win the games? No.
Right.
But he was still the best one at this year's games.
So looking at 2021, right? How do you feel about the balance of the test that year?
I thought 2021 was fine.
Right. And who won?
Tia
And
Justin.
Justin. So it was a balanced test. Justin was there, and this is kind of for the chat too. But it was Matt's first year, but no one really cared. No one really leaned in, right? And why is that? Right? Because there wasn't a recency bias of an issue with the games at that point in time, which is, I think, what a lot of people look at, right? Like something is going on that makes it feel a little bit different. Could Matt have trained and won? Matt probably could have trained for a couple of months and still been in that kind of shape and still probably won the games, right?
And people say the same about Ben Smith in 2015. Like if Rich just did individual, he probably would have won the 2015 games.
Right.
And which I would push back on it, but like it's very well within their right. Rich himself has said 2015, 2016 are the fittest he's ever been.
Mm-hmm.
But Ben Smith still won the games in 2015.
Right.
Ben Smith is still the fittest man in the world in 2015. I see James Sprague in the light of Ben Smith. You know what I mean?
100%.
Maybe he'll never do it again. Maybe he will, but like the chances are low that he will. But I see it in that light.
Right. The point I was getting to make is that when there isn't a problem, right? You know, Jeff with Roman, you know, and Ricky not being there, right? You know, or yeah, exactly. And so it's easy to point fingers and say whatever it might be when you're in the moment and there's this big thing that's happening that's clearly, that people view as clearly affecting the outcome, right? And, but when there isn't one, even if there is someone around, they're not going to say it as much, right? Or the people aren't going to say it as much. But I do want to look at the workouts, right? And we'll do a full show on actually evaluating the workouts at some point.
And like if you could throw Jeff and Roman and Ricky in there, and then you could say 9 times out of 10 they win the CrossFit Games. One of those 3 wins the CrossFit Games. But there's a 1 time out of 10 that somebody comes out of, like, the programming hits just right and somebody beats them all. And that's this 1 time out of 10. James Sprague is the 2007 Giants. He's Eli Manning.
Sure.
You know what I mean? He wasn't supposed to win, but he made that throw.
Right.
And he was 5th and 4th on the workouts that he had no business being 5th and 4th on. 100%. And that shows the hard work that he's put in to close those holes. And the last workout, he executed better than everybody else in the entire field, short of like Hatfield. Right? Like Brent, Dallin, Hopper, all thought that they could win the games. Rightfully so. I did too. I thought it was just up for grabs. Whoever wanted it. And all of them blew up badly. Dallin was doing 2s on muscle ups. They all blew up bad. And James ran his race and executed, and there was opportunity, and he's the only one that seized it, and he capitalized when nobody else did. I do not think you can take that away from him. In fact, I almost feel like it should be celebrated more than questioned.
Oh,
like
100%.
When Eli beat the Patriots, who were undefeated, 9 times out of 10, the Patriots should have won that game. They didn't. The freaking 9-7 Giants won the championship, right?
Right.
That is what James did. Year. It should be celebrated. And it's not. And I think people who are saying, yeah, but this guy withdrew, or yeah, but this guy was hurt, that's a part of it too. Like, maybe like being mentally and emotionally strong plays a role a lot more this year than years previous. Right. That's still a part of it.
100%. That was my next point. Is the mentality and being able to handle adversity is part of the CrossFit Games, right? Just like, because every time you're out on the floor, it's about who's the fittest on the floor, but there's so much goes into between each workout: the recovery, your ability to tolerate volume, your ability to recover quickly, right? To train under fatigue, to keep your emotions in check, to manage adversity when it comes at you in each workout, having a bad workout to coming back and then having a good one. Fueling, etc. Right. And so all of that plays a role, right? And everyone else that decided not to work out or decided to do the competition, and those within the competition that were struggling, that has to be taken into account. And then, and so it yields this result, right? I mean, that's just the case.
And I think it's, if you have a problem with like saying James is the fittest on earth, right? I think people have a problem with that title. I think then the problem is more with the programming and not with James. If that's where you're coming from, sure. Like, there should be no animosity or like, James is getting a lot of hate for winning, and
he's only getting a lot of hate. He's only getting a lot of hate because of his religious beliefs, and that. It's not anything else. Everyone can say it's other stuff, and they can say he's not the fittest, but his speeches and his views on religion and faith are what are pissing people off. If he would have been crying on the floor like Kara and only spoke Lazar's praise on all of his wins,
which is
I don't think would care. I know, no, it is 1,000,000% ridiculous.
Think about this. He said in his speech, and I don't think people are like, I don't think people are understanding this very fully too. Like, he said, like, I have a different relationship with Lazar. I knew he was Christian. Like, this gives me peace. You know what I mean? And if you had that, and I don't know his relationship with Lazar, I didn't have a relationship with Lazar, but if that's true, and him and Lazar had that type of bond, I'm telling you right now, my best friend, we and him are both, very, very diehard Christian to a T.
Mhm.
Okay, Jesus is our King. I won't preach it, y'all, but like, if he died, and it's terrible, like I would feel really, really bad that day. But then the next day, I'm at peace that he is feeling much better than I am. Like he's
Sure.
much better, in a much better place than I am right now. And like that gives you peace. You know what I mean? And I think that plays a role. And not but like, to get off of that, what Carolyn Prevost said, the 2 workouts that were deleted. Is the test still valid for the claim of why even have 12 events then if we can cut some? Like, you're right. I think you're right. But I will say the guys that were in the hammer down event, nobody knows how that was going to go. Nobody. I'd like to say it's a range of motion workout, but I have no clue. That's just what I would see. The Amanda workout, you're absolutely right. That would play a role. James would be bad at Amanda, but so would Dallin, and so would Hopper, and so would Bukowski. Like, all of the guys that were in the running would have been not great at Amanda. The only thing that would be a difference is Vellner would be in the hunt for the win too, because Vellner would have had a top 3, top 5, and they would have been mid-pack. But all that would do is just put Vellner in the hunt. And I don't think Vellner is making up 60 points in that workout. You know what I mean? So like the only difference is maybe Vellner gets second or third. I still don't think it changes your winner. And I think if you had those 2 events, Carolyn, it's still ridiculously biased programming. Like, it's not a well-balanced test. And that's not James's fault. It's not at all. I think James should get so much praise for capitalizing where others couldn't. But if you want to be angry at the programming. Don't be angry at James.
Yeah. And so I think the other, and just to kind of like lean into that, right? 5-seated rope climbs, John would know better than me. He got 7th on the workout, right? Maybe he gets a few spots further down, 12th to 15th,
so
or something
Hopper,
like that.
Dallin,
Right. That's what I'm getting at, right? It's like, and so are the people that were at the top, right? So all the people that were at the top, probably would have been, struggling with Amanda 45 as it's written, and an increase in rope climbs. So, but maybe that benefits Vellner. Maybe like Vellner makes up a little more spots, and then maybe it's really close. I think I don't know if it changes the outcome of the test, right? Or the weekend in general.
I really don't think it does.
But
that's
why we're on here to talk about it.
Yeah.
Right?
All it would do is put Vellner up in the hunt to win. And Vellner he wasn't there. Like,
he said he wasn't there. Right. And so that, again, but that's unfortunately, and I don't, no one, this isn't a point where no one should be attacking me or John, but that's part of the test for this weekend. And it's a fucking shitty part of the test. It just is. It was terrible, but it laid the floor for what it was. And so
I'm on top. Yep. Carolyn, I'm all on board with this being the cardio games or high rocks on steroids. I 100% think that to a T. I still think James is the rightful winner, and I think he earned this win. Those last 2 workouts, James had no business being 4th and 5th in those workouts, and he executed better than everybody else. But I'm on board with the programming. The programming was probably some of the most unbalanced programming there is, but that's not the athlete's fault. That's the program's fault. The only thing that would have, like, if we added those 2 events, the only thing that would have happened is Vellner would be maybe 3rd place, and then Hatfield might have a shot at top 5.
Yeah.
I just had to get that in there.
Yeah. All right. I want to go, and this is just because this is my podcast. I can pull up whatever the fuck I want. So best why others are criticizing him. James is a nice guy. everyone likes James. If no one heard him say any shit about religion, I don't think anyone would care that he won. But because of his viewpoints and his strong faith, I think he's getting a huge amount of backlash. They don't like the way that he handled his win on Chad, or in and at the end. And so that's my opinion. I can have it. That's why it's my podcast. So, there's no other reason, and not even that's a reason to dislike him, but it triggers a lot of people. So, I think that's just the way that is, because he's just a happy-go-lucky guy. Look at every behind the scenes. He was on demo team. Everyone loves him. He's just a nice dude. And so anyone that's like, he doesn't deserve it, right? You can say it's the programming.
He beat everybody else that signed up for this test. And he earned it, in my opinion. And I don't think, and again, we've been bailed out by Matt and Tia so much. Like, there would be biases in every single games. And we don't see that. I think this one is probably up there with the most. But 2018 and 2015 had a huge pulling bias. 2017 had a squatting bias. They all have biases, but we just don't see it because Matt and Tia freaking wins everything.
Right.
Right. And
sure. 100%.
And then it's not the case here. Like, like everybody's talking about James. Freaking Emily Rolfe is third place.
Yeah.
Do you think Emily Rolfe is the third fittest woman in the world? And everybody wants to get mad at James. Every single year has a bias. This one was stronger than most. James was the best at the test. He is the 2024 CrossFit Games champion. I think 100%. He deserves the title of fittest on earth until somebody takes it from him, which will probably happen.
Sure. 100%. And MD 690, it's never valid to crown the fittest on earth, just winner of the games. And I think that's the biggest load of bullshit I've ever heard. That's the whole purpose of CrossFit, right? We have defined fitness. We have pushed the human potential needle across all domains better than any sport or anything ever has. So no one is as well-rounded as the winner of the CrossFit Games. They're the fittest on earth. And if you can disagree with me if you want, but there's no one that on any aspect of any, decathletes, anything. They would win in some things, they wouldn't win in others.
And strongman, when Eddie Hall won in 2017, there were 4 of the 6 events were static lifting. And usually it's 3 moving, 3 lifting, but that year it was 4 of it was static lifting. It's not every year. The test is not perfect. Some years are better than others. Some years are worse than others. I'm always going to crown the title of the CrossFit Games champion is the fittest on earth. And I'm always going to call them that, even if I don't think they're the fittest on earth. Justin Medeiros is the fittest man on earth back when he won. And I constantly said, I think Vellner is fitter in everything except a pool. Like, but Justin Medeiros still deserves that title.
Right.
I think Ricky Garrard is the fittest man in the world, but he got hurt and he was like 9th freaking place. And I still think Ricky is the fittest man in the world. He does not have the title. I just think that's who it is. James has the title because he's earned the title.
Right. All right, next. Asterisk, no. Mark of shame, yep. I don't
What is the mark of shame for?
Yeah, what's the mark of shame?
Being better than everybody in a competition.
Right. I mean, we know what the
thing happened.
Right. We know what the mark of shame is for, and I just don't think that's a fair take on James as a person, or on Tia, or on the podium winners, or whatever. Right. That's your own bias to believing the competition should not have gone on. Right. And you're entitled to that biasness, right? And that belief and that view on how the situation should have been handled. But I don't agree with that personally. So, all right. So we talked about that. This is interesting. Some people might disagree. One big part of the games, odd objects are used. I mean, if Hammer Down was there, we had this, I mean, there's literally only an odd object workout. Okay. We had this weird bag. We had a weird bag.
The star is supposed to be odd.
Right. So is the sled pull. Right. Theoretically, Chad should be as well. that whole design. And I mean, I
By
guess
the
that was
way,
it.
the reason Chad was like that left the door open for somebody like Austin to do what he did. I think in regular Chad, Austin has no shot to be second place. But since it was that weird standard, he was going down faster than everybody. And that's why he was where he was. You look at everybody else that ranked that high, it was all the tall guys, right? And on regular Chad, nobody had a chance to do that.
Vicky, do people attack Rich when he would do that? I know a lot of people that do Mayhem and that have stopped Mayhem solely because when they open it every day, it goes to Mayhem Faith and it bothers them that much. So yes, I do believe that the same amount of people do that, right? And Rich also did it, like scream Bible verse the top of his lungs when he won. He was a competitor, and it felt like he was a competitor, I don't want to say his faith isn't as strong as James, but he's not as outspoken about it in general, right? Like James is very much a like minister and a as far as like spreading the word. And so yes, Rich is absolutely attacked just as much just behind closed doors. Cause I mean, I've talked to quite a few people that can't handle Mayhem athlete because it pulls up Mayhem faith and it bothers them that much. Which I think is insane.
Which is wild.
Insane. That's their platform. They can do whatever they want. Let's see. Let's see. What do we got here? I don't know.
Do you want to go through the programming?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's go through the programming. I was trying to see if there's any comments. All right. So a couple things that we know happen. We know we missed events 2 and 3, right? We had Hammer Down and Amanda 45. We don't know Hammer Down was probably a toss-up event.
I would lean towards it'd be a range of motion event, but Hopper said that he would have been great at it. Like he was.
Hopper says he would be good at all of it.
No, he doesn't. No, he was hoping they kept that and they did away with Amanda. Because like he watched people practice with the hammer, and
people are awkward for sure.
He was pretty good with the hammer. Is what he
said. Well, I mean, if you watch the announcement portion of it, like you watched Colton do it, and he looked very natural, and then Trista looked exceptionally unnatural while demoing it.
I saw a video of Alexander Carone, and it was the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life. Because
I hope you can share that privately at some point. Well, they changed that, right? Like you had to go over and above the line.
And he could not do it, dude. he just it's like dribbling a basketball left-handed. Like the very first time you try to dribble a basketball left-handed, it's like you just don't even know what's happening. It looks
right. Yeah. So up in the air, maybe. And then midline climb, right? Maybe this pushes the smaller athlete a little bit more. It biases the rope climb.
I think it was less whenever you changed to 3 to 5. I think 5 rope climbs would have been better
for the smaller athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I mean. Yeah, it benefited the bigger athletes more because it weighted the machine, the GHG, and the deadlift heavier within the workout.
Yeah.
Right. So looking, I want to talk about the men's leaderboard. We'll go all through it all, and then I want to go back through on the women's leaderboard because it's interesting that the men's leaderboard yielded a power athlete, but the women's leaderboard yielded an aerobic athlete, like very uniquely.
Right. I think that's because the guys who are the power athletes, like to be in the games for the guys, like they are all very, very good at cardio too.
Right. They are.
Allen has been working on his running all year. Jason's always been a good runner. James, his best thing is his engine. Fikowski, his best thing is his engine. Like it is all aerobic cardio guys.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the bigger ones. You know what I mean? But like, I know Ricky is the best runner and Adler probably there too.
Mm-hmm.
But like after that, it is the guys like James Sprague and Fikowski.
Sure. Yeah, you're right. It is. I think it just benefits. I think because height plays such a bigger role on the men's side than it does on the women's side. The women are just more close together as far as height. Like you have a couple short outliers, but like the disparity of women's height is, I think, a little more narrow. And so you don't see it as much. You see strength as the disparity between high level and like lower level athletes more, but you don't see that change in the men more.
Yeah, right? I just think the power athletes for the men are also the aerobic guys. They're also fall in the aerobic bubble. Where for the women, the power athletes are not the aerobic bubble.
Right.
Because, for instance, I think this would be Laura Horvath's worst game she's had. I think she'd be like 6th place in this games. There is not an event that she would dominate at all. Like, she's not going to dominate Chad.
Maybe the clean ladder.
The Firestorm, she probably would have won Firestorm, and she probably would have won the clean ladder. But then after that, you know, the handstand push-up, she's not going to be great.
Right.
The mile run, she's not going to be great. Like though these are all like mid-pack finishes.
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Right? Chad's a mid-pack finish. Dickie's triplet is a mid-pack finish because all the freaking girls did touch and go. The dumbbell's not heavy enough, so it turned into an aerobic event. And then the last one she would be good at, but she's still not beating the, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think this would be the worst games Laura would have had.
Interesting.
Like, she would not beat Gabby Magawa in this games.
Even if it was 5 rope climbs?
Yeah, I feel confident about that because Gabby Magawa, 5 rope climbs would have made it better. But Gabby Magawa was very good in that event, and I think that's because the rope climb, but it was regular rope climbs. You know, there was they did away with the ring muscle ups, which Laura would be better than a lot of these girls at. Mm-hmm. They did, like, there wasn't any heavy pulling and there wasn't any heavy pressing, and there wasn't any strength other than the clean ladder. And then after that, it was just aerobic.
Right.
I don't think I think the best Laura does is 4th place. And I honestly think she's behind Haley and Bethany.
Right.
I think she's with Alexis Raptis because none of these workouts she's going to murder.
Right. What was I about to say? Damn, I forgot.
Like,
do we think from a stimulus perspective that the bag was missed? I think it was.
The bag.
The sprint workout, the 50-yard, the Happy Star or whatever, the Lone Star sprint workout, the field sprint.
I don't know. I enjoyed it.
No. I enjoyed it, but I think the stimulus was missed. I think the rest was either too long or the bag wasn't heavy enough. The person to win both was not the design of it. I think Dave commented on that was really cool, but it, in my opinion, as it's written, that shouldn't have been able to be the case. I mean, again, Tia's an outlier, but I think
you wanted it to be like the final, where if you sent it on one, you were going to be hurting on the
yeah, you should have had a penalty, but I think it was a little long, right, from the recovery standpoint, and I think the bag wasn't quite heavy enough, right? Like it was 170, and they picked it up like it was a 40-pound bag, and I know that's just because they're extremely strong, but it just didn't seem.
It's not heavy. 100 pounds is not heavy.
It's not heavy. It's not heavy at all. And but I mean, they made it look even lighter, right, with how fast they were actually running, right? And so I think the stimulus was missed from a programming standpoint. If I was looking at this workout and like looking at balance, that's a missed point.
I think 100%. Everything just needed to be more. Like I love Firestorm. I think it should stay the same. I think. Like, I agree with you. I think you either make it at the 8-minute mark, you do the sprint, or it's a
heavier bag,
150 and 100 and 115.
Or it's just, I think it just was long, right? Like it biased the run portion of the sprint more than the bag carry portion, because everyone was running about the same speed on the bag.
Well, I actually think the longer guys had an advantage on the speed because their choppy run with the bag is just going to be better because their stride's longer.
Okay. All right.
I think I agree with you. I think it should be like 150, 100 or whatever, however you want to do that. Or you go at the 8-minute mark. I kind of like going at the 8-minute mark and then keeping it the same because that tests recoverability. And then if you're faster at the mile, you have a longer time to recover. And then I think Chad's fine. I think the clean ladder's fine. Push pull 2.0 ruined completely by the 15 free handstanding push-ups.
I agree. What should have been there? I know what should have been there.
15 strict deficits.
Yeah, I think deficit or just a little homage, a parallel, or the echo press. like that pattern. That would have been, I think that would have been nice, because that would have been
15
some wall, yeah, some deficit there. I think it just would have looked better. I know it's harder to show and then I also think it should have, like, had you done that and then just another sled variation to finish. Like, it was weird. It missed its like flashiness by finishing on the handstand push-up.
I think it completely ruined the event. You could have done 30 free handstanding push-ups for time, and then it would have been the same winner.
Yeah, probably. It was just who was better. Now, I did see some fatigue. Like, there were people tired.
For sure. There were, but Brent Fikowski was second. Ruan Potgeider was fourth.
Right.
Like, it ruined a great pressing workout by skill. The skill of the free handstanding push-up was far more important than your handstand push-up ability.
Right.
And like, this workout is supposed to be, like, I think it's supposed to be
right, a muscular fatigue pattern. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just wasn't.
Right. I agree.
It completely ruined what that workout would, and that would have hurt girls like Emily Rolfe.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it would have. And like, it would have hurt Fikowski. It would have hurt Sprague. It would have hurt Hop.
It did hurt Sprague, but it would have hurt him worse.
All the big guys. Right. But Fikowski freaking got second place in it. He almost
going 5s and 3s. 5s and 3s the entire time, which is crazy.
And like, I just think you ruined a really good pressing workout by the skill being more important than your pressing ability.
Right.
And then Dickey's triplet, the dumbbell needed to be either heavier or it needed to be much more reps with that dumbbell snatch. When the weakest person can do unbroken snatches, it's not heavy enough.
Right.
That became an aerobic workout through and through.
It was a capacity workout, but it was truly the only mixed capacity workout that didn't have a little bit of muscular fatigue besides track and field as the driver of it. Right. Like, just like a pure mixed aerobic capacity, right? Without a mixed aerobic capacity, but it's still aerobic. But it's still similar, right? And like, so, do you think it's so? Someone made this, like, I don't know, maybe it was Taylor, that it was like, I think 15-10, I think, would have been a little bit more of a sweet spot.
Dude, I personally like extending reps. I think if you went 10 toes to bar, 10 snatches, 12 toes to bar, 12 snatches, 12. 14, 16, and then you end on 18.
But then it takes away, so then it's not an aerobic workout at all, almost. Then it's hardly an aerobic workout. The run is devalued a ton at that point.
It is an aerobic workout, but it rewards the people. It rewards the people that can go unbroken on the snatch, and not as many people would be able to go unbroken on the snatch.
Right.
Everybody went unbroken on the snatch.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So if it was ascending reps, only the strong people would be able to do that.
Go at the end, sure.
And then it would be the fittest person of the strong people. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And it creates more range of motion. And like, I think you needed that workout. This workout in particular, you could have had a big change of the leaderboard as well. And instead it favored the exact same athlete that you're doing on the first 6 workouts.
Right. Hey, just to remember, this is literally all analysts are doing. That's the only thing we can do is make assumptions, by the way.
We're playing hindsight.
Yeah, exactly. So you know, this is the only option we have, right? Like, there's no other way for us to, like, review and evaluate an unknown and unknowable sport besides us make assumptions based on our own experiences, our own research within all of the information that's available to all of us, right? So yes, you're right.
Unless Dave wanted the average height of the top 5 guys to be 6'2".
Right. That was it. He was like, how can we change the narrative that little guys do well in CrossFit?
And then I loved the final, but
great.
with what the programming was, the yoke needed to be a lot heavier.
Yeah, the yoke is irrelevant. It was irrelevant for sure. I know he wanted it to be fast, which is cool. I think it could have been a little less fast and still been just as awesome, right? At least this one. But I mean, if you wanted to send it on that one, you were going to hurt in the next one. Like, right. Cause it was only 2 minutes.
This is a standalone. I love. It's just seeing the rest of the competition and how cardio based the rest of the competition was,
Mm-hmm.
you just can't save it with just 2 workouts.
Yeah, this is an interesting point. Molo's really heated, by the way, in case the chat didn't know. Heaviest thing overhead was 135. That's true. That's a good point. And I'm not saying, again, I don't think we're here saying that it's the most well-balanced test, but that's the whole purpose of the unknown and unknowable is
Where
this
was
is
the 135?
thruster.
Very,
Um,
very end.
Yeah, very end. Last bit. Other than that, I mean, there was 100 pounds overhead, and then I guess if you count being upside down, but that probably doesn't count.
The heaviest thing squatted was 135.
No,
for most.
I mean, no, they did 3. They had a clean ladder.
Yeah, but most of them were eliminated. They were all power cleaning, and then if you weren't fast enough, they did 3 squats.
Right. Yeah.
At the most, you did. If you made it to the last round, you did 3 total squats,
and so
everything else that was squatted was 135.
So this was that statement is a Kyle, we're working on it. I'm working on a call in. Don't worry, we're getting there. I'm not as cool as all the other shows. I don't have all that stuff. As far as squatting, I think Chad as a cornerstone of the weekend, which I believe it was probably the first workout programmed in my opinion, Chad or midline climb. I think those were probably the first pieces. Chad threw a wrench in the movement selection knee flexion. Like, because Chad was there, I think it biased Dave to.
They effed up everybody's legs without squatting.
Right. And
but
so
you need that squat pattern.
You need a squat. I agree 100%. I'm not arguing with you whatsoever. And so because of Chad and because of how intense and, it is, and especially how they changed it, right? Which I think maybe made it faster, definitely made it a little more entertaining, but probably because of the awkwardness of it was harder on the legs than a traditional 20-inch up and straight up and down. It biased away from squatting for the rest of the weekend. Like had Dickie's triplet been a squat snatch, I think that would have been better.
Yeah, I think that would have been a lot better.
Like at the same bit here, because it wouldn't have been unbroken in the
I mean, if you could go unbroken, you're pretty great.
Savage, right? No, I don't think it does, solely because it's too little too late, and it's just not enough, right? And so if you watch them, even so, the people that were struggling weren't struggling in the legs. Like their arms were just fucking fried, right? Like Fikowski almost failed.
Hey, you couldn't do the bar muscle ups.
2 thrusters, right? And he couldn't press out of the bar muscle up, right? He failed one pulling, and then he was like at failure trying to press out of that dip of the bar muscle up. So I don't think it covers it.
A full body workout. I love the final.
I've said this from the start. Thruster pull up is the most elegant and best pairing, however long or short or whatever, in all of CrossFit and really all of fitness. Like thruster and some version of a vertical pulling pattern is the best combination in the whole sport. And Fran, that's why Fran is
fitness.
For fitness. Yeah. For a total test of fitness. And I know Davis said that, but I've always thought that. And I think that's to me, that's why Rich and that's why Matt were so far ahead, because of their perfection to move through both of those patterns. Right.
And if you look at this event, tell me the average score of the top 5 in these 2 events, and then tell me see where they end up. They are not the fittest people. For instance, what I'm saying is I want to know the average score of Emily Rolfe in these 2 events is like 12th place. What did she finish last year? 12th.
Right.
Like if you could take the average score of these 2 together, and I think you get how fit people are.
I agree.
Relatively speaking, obviously it favors short guys, and you need to there needs to be more in place, but give or take 5 spots, and the same people don't show up. The winners, the top 5 people, they are not the best 5 people in these 2 disciplines. And James and Dallin deserve to be first and second because they did do that, right? Mm-hmm. So if you look at James, he's 9, that's 4.5. Dallin is 9, that's 4.5.
Right.
Now look at Fikowski, that's 31.
16.
You look at Jason, the average place is 12th. Vellner, the average price is 9th, and we always knew he's always up there.
This is crazy. I didn't even know this.
Sam
Did you know
Quant
this?
no, I did not know this.
Holy shit. I didn't even notice this
That's
the last 3 days.
wild. I knew he jumped up a lot, but like I didn't think that.
I mean,
that was like a Justin Medeiros like thing that would do this in this workout, and he didn't.
Right.
Roman was hurt. I don't really count him. Ricky was hurt. I don't really count him. But you're right. The best person at these two events is probably the fittest man in the world. Who was the best person at these two events?
Oh my God.
I don't remember.
Anyways, we're going to the women. We're going to the fucking women. Get the fuck out of here. Jesus Christ.
By the way, I'm sorry.
On to the next.
I said
couldn't help yourself. This is interesting. Did you know this? That it went 2-1, 1-2 with Alexis and Tia?
I did not know that. No.
That's a very interesting concept.
Look at Gabby. Gabby's average placement is 12.5. Emily Bethwood is 10th. Bethany Flores is 6th. 8th. Yeah, you're right. Haley Adams is 10th. And then we get to a girl who we know is really fit. Alexis Rabdis.
Look at this. Look at this climb, y'all. This is crazy.
Mm-hmm. Danielle Brandon, who we know is really fit, is like
crazy.
6.5.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Kazan is 19. So what's that? 9.5.
Yep.
I guess that means Claudia Gluck, and I'm speaking relevant. Claudia Gluck.
Yeah. They're always be an outlier, but
and then look at
agree.
Amy Kringle. This is what I was screaming before. Amy Kringle. Everybody thinks she's the next big rookie. No, she's not. It's just the only thing tested is her best stuff. And it just kept getting tested.
Right. Yeah.
Until finally,
and then it wasn't
the fraudulence.
Yeah, and then it wasn't right, like the pure, like the like mixed aerobic capacity, right? For it being upside down. I mean, she's a bigger girl for sure. And pulling capacity, right? So
dude, it's wild. It's wild that Claudia Gluck, Amy Kringle, and Grace Walton are all right next to each other, and they're the 3 best rookies for the women, and they all ended up right next to each other.
Yeah, well, they were all above, right? We called this going into the last day. They were all like 8, 9, 10, and we were like, they're gonna move down a little bit.
Amy Kringle was. I just think it's funny they ended up finishing next to each other.
Next.
Yeah, Vicky, can you bring up Vicky's comment? Yeah, I've spoken to Austin a few times, and I feel like Austin before the last 2 events, and we don't have to talk about him because I talked about him about 100 hours in a row, so it's okay. Like I know people are annoyed at me in Austin Hatfield, but he basically had a 2021 Hopper-like games. Where Hopper, if you remember Hopper's rookie season, everything that could go wrong went wrong. He did not execute. He got screwed by the judges in 2 events. What I'm saying by that, he had 5 no reps on rope climbs. That's
crazy.
He was touching the diamond everybody else. Everybody was touching the diamond, and his judge wanted him to touch the beam above the diamond. And he got 5 no reps on rope climbs. Ended up 23 no reps total. So he got screwed on event 4. The handstand push-up workout, you got Saxon just going like this. Mm-hmm. And then Hatfield every time has to.
Oh, I know. That was crazy.
And so that is a workout I wanted to ask you a question.
I have a question. He didn't look very comfortable kipping. I'm assuming that he probably doesn't or hasn't done a copious amount of kipping handstand push-ups.
He's got because of how strict.
Right, but because of how good he is, I've noticed and I've seen a lot of people that are really good at handstand push-ups that struggle with kipping and that kind of volume, just because of like how it changes the movement, the flow of the pattern, right, in general. And so I don't know any of it.
I think whenever you have to hold every single rep for 3,
right? Yeah, it kills you. Well, I mean, what was it? 18.3, right? 18.3 with the forearm and the heel reach. Yeah, the fucking line.
Yeah, like some people can just crank and some people can't, and it's ridiculous. It's not handstand push-up ability at all. And so he got screwed on those 2 events. And then the clean ladder, completely his fault. He should have won that event, and he raced it, and he didn't have to. Completely.
Oh, that last? You mean the last rep?
Yeah, I mean he was ahead of everybody by 5 seconds. He could have took his time and breath and waited for somebody to get there and then hit the clean. Instead, he tried to race when he didn't have to, and he missed it. Completely his fault. There was another workout, or the bike burpee workout. He got no rep on 3 burpees, which is huge on a 3-minute workout. He would have had a really good score on there.
2-foot takeoff.
Yeah, and then Chad, he got no rep on the one of the
on the very end, right? The very end, he probably would have won.
He literally had the worst games he could have ever had, and then he got 10th place. And people
fit.
will not. And Amanda and Hammer Down, which would have been great events for him. Short guy, range of motion. And then
Fast barbell cycling.
Amanda, he's in the running to be in the top 3. Like,
Sure.
he knows that. It's the worst games he could have done, and he's 10th place. I think it's just going to fire him up for next year.
Right.
And people still don't know what he's capable of. And I'll probably be a little bit cooler on him just because I know
you fucking won't.
No. Like, I won't bring it up as much because I know people are annoyed about
everyone knows.
I don't think everybody knows yet, man. Like, he's going to win the games. And it's
I love it. I support everyone. I want everyone to win. Lito, no, I think she ended up where she was. I think the asterisks or the false sense of placement might have just been from the heavy front weighted biasness to her favor, and then it balanced out. I think she's in around the right spot. Okay. Lies and deceit. I don't know what this means. I'm sorry. Cool. So does this year have an asterisk? We'll come back to the question. Yes or no?
In my opinion, no. And I think if you want to say yes, then 2019 should have an asterisk. 2020 should have an asterisk. Laura should have an asterisk for last year. Jeff should have an asterisk for the last year. If you want to
have an asterisk, right?
If you want to give this one an asterisk, then like every year that Matt or Tia or Rich didn't win should have an asterisk. And I disagree with that. I think no year should have an asterisk. Every year it is the test. James earned his win. And I think that's that.
Yeah, I 100% agree, right? So in the Olympics, in track and field, right, in the 100 or 200, when someone false starts or trips, no one says anything. It's part of the game, and it's just part of the process, right? It's unfortunate, and it's hopefully this never happens again, and we never have to say that an athlete dying on the field of play is part of the process, right? And part of the challenges outside of just expressing pure fitness is there, and being a part of it. But with everything that was at hand, the tests that were laid out, the situation at hand, these are the 2 or the 6 that made the podium, and I think everyone is there. Oh, last thing, you have a couple minutes. You said 11:30, right?
Yeah.
Okay. MD690 has brought this up a couple times. Every year should have a standardized test.
It's not CrossFit if it's a standardized test. It's
correct,
the unknown and unknowable.
They test, retest, and it's the unknown and unknowable, right? If we have standardized tests and we know what's coming, it's the IF3, right? And I think there's a big difference.
We're training for the test.
We're training for the test.
You can't claim the fittest person in the world if you're training for a certain thing, because then
I agree 100%.
You're not.
Everything's biased. Everything is linear, and everything is.
Then you're the best at whatever the test is. It's not you are just pretty good at everything, which is what CrossFit is. We're supposed to be mediocre pros in everything. Like, that's how I look at it. The best in the world should be like, if he was in a gymnastics gym, then he is a mediocre pro level. And I think you should be that at everything.
Yeah. This is literally like in the definition of CrossFit. So, I don't know if, I would say, I
would educate yourself, John. One time.
Yeah. That's literally our whole world.
Great definition from Greg
the entire world.
What CrossFit is founded on.
Cool. Well, hey, thanks, John. Thanks for popping on. Quick, I know you've got a busy schedule this week. Tell us your schedule this week for podcasts.
I don't know, man.
How many? You have like Wednesday?
No,
right? Don't you have spin tomorrow night?
I'm going to be on Get With The Programming tomorrow at 12:30. I think we're going to evaluate the rookies. And then Spin tomorrow at 6:30. We'll probably do a games recap, whatever Spin wants to do. And then Thursday at 12:30, I'm on Get With The Programming again. And I think we're going to evaluate the programming. That should be a very fun show.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll probably be on Sevons at some point, like probably on Friday. But like
Yep.
a lot of that stuff, we just kind of say, hey, can you do this? And then I'll be
Sure.
there.
I agree. Cool. All right. Have a good week, buddy. Thanks for popping on, everyone. Enjoy the week. Try not to get too entrenched in the poison of social media currently, right? So try not to let it consume you. I know it did over the weekend. I know it did me. It's everyone has their right to feel the way they feel and express where they want to express, their viewpoints. But if it's bringing you down, it's okay to get off of it. You're going to find out if something important comes up or whatever, if changes are made. So
yeah, if you're getting depressed about it, I would just like radio silence for like 2 weeks and then come back. There's no fault in that. Like I totally get it. I myself am like, go through ups and downs, and I have to talk.
100%.
I have to talk about it, but I 100% get it. Don't let this stuff get you down. Yeah, I wouldn't take any offense if I have a little bit less viewers. It's okay.
Yeah. It's important, guys. Like we'll be on and we'll be chatting about it. I'll be doing the coffee morning show. We'll try and do some programming, sports stuff. And so, but if like you're really riled up about everything still, I suggest taking a few days off. So, thanks again, guys. This is the WODprep podcast, and we will see you